What do you know? The Yankees are back in the win column in a fun one. Wow, we haven't been able to say a fun one in a while, but this one definitely was. It was interesting. It was different. We saw a career day for Jasson Dominguez, 4 hits. He's never done that before. We also saw 4 hits from Trent Grisham. We saw the least shocking thing ever. The ace, Max Fried, just absolutely shove it today against the Reds.
That is not true. The least shocking thing we saw was Luis Rojas over at third base.
Okay, you got me
not having
there.
a clue what he's doing. And
I
obviously,
never know what that guy's doing.
It's good because you and I had a little banter about what happened, right? It's like, is it Ben Rice's fault? Is it Rojas' fault? We'll dive into all that, but I digress. Go ahead, partner.
Yeah, so, Fried was excellent. Cruz was excellent. See, if I could have just thrown, like, if there's ever Profit X has like an in-game type of, play here, I am going Cruz strikeouts, especially against his former team that traded him away. I didn't even think that. Like, I did not even think of that until he came out of the game, and I'm like, he was in the trade for Trevino. I keep thinking, like, oh, yeah, Trevino, like, but I keep forgetting, like, yeah, Cruz was a part of that. So today was great for him. You could see he was enjoying himself. Brubaker has actually looked really good. I know I got pissed off about him coming in. It wasn't him coming in necessarily mad at him. It was more just the optics of taking a guy out after a no-hitter and putting in a guy who hasn't pitched since 2022. But he's looked really good. And yeah, we're going to have plenty of stuff to talk about. They got after Brady Singer. You would have liked to see them score a little bit more against Brady Singer. They had opportunities. They left guys on base.
Do you see how many guys we left on base today? I'm not here to complain, but we win 7-1. I don't really care, but we 4 for 22.
4 for 22, yeah, absolutely. 12 guys left on base. Ben Rice actually went 0 for 3 today. I didn't hate his at-bats. I thought he got screwed on one of the calls, and the other one, he told everybody in the audience he couldn't see shit. That's what he said. So
that's right.
I think he was absolutely justified in feeling that way. I saw the sun. It looked like it was pretty brutal, but later on in the game, you got to be able to come through, and that's when it comes down to it. But all right, so let's talk about it. Jasson Dominguez is the hot topic. Well, we don't know what the hot topic is. We went live right after the game. I didn't have a chance to wait around and see what people thought. So Jasson Dominguez is somebody that we have been critical of for the lack of pop. And I told you off air, Gary, if I'm going to have no pop out of Jasson Dominguez, I can actually live with that even when he has a below average glove, when he does stuff like this, when he gets on base, when he works counts, when he steals bases. His speed is absolutely top tier. It's not Elly De La Cruz, but it's not that far away from Elly De La Cruz. And you see it. He is absolutely a threat. When he took off and stole third on that walk to Wells, I was not expecting that. And I'm not going to get into how pissed off I was that they couldn't score him after that, because I'm sorry, guy steals 2 bases. He should be an auto run like that. I don't care in that inning. But yeah, today was really good for Dominguez. He shot his batting average. We were kind of joking about it, how batting average barely goes down, but it starts going up.
Skyrockets with a couple hits.
Dominguez, it skyrocketed. We're talking about a 253 hitter right now, a 341 on base, and a 396 slugging, despite the fact he only has one game where he hit 3 home runs, and I think he has another home run aside from that. So right now, Jasson Dominguez, he's a good baseball player. That's what he is. But he has some serious flaws. And honestly, I'm okay with it. If he continues, I'm not saying go 4 for 5. You know that when I say that. If he can, get 2 hits, get on base, steal a couple bags, we'll all sign up for that. So yeah. I loved what I saw today out of him.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a daily thing, but it has to be often. If you're going to be a bad defender, right, and you've got the speed, they talk about it every time you play on the Yes broadcast. Anytime he's on base, they talk about his speed. Game-changing speed. He can steal bases. He can score from first. He's scoring on a knock from second base. He could change the game with his legs. But if he's hitting, it actually presents somewhat of a good problem, I guess you can say, right, for the Yankees. And
Oh,
when he
boy.
doesn't play, people have to ask themselves, well, he's our top prospect. What are they trying to do? Are they trying to develop this player? Well, when you put him out on the field and the player who didn't play today was Cody Bellinger, I was pissed off when I saw that. It made no sense. He's been
I don't get that at all.
playing well. It didn't make sense to me. But when you look up, nice, Jake, when you look up and you say, okay, Cody Bellinger's not playing, Jasson Dominguez is. And I did hear a lot of people sort of drawing the conclusion that the issue is that not that Cody Bellinger necessarily is sitting, he should be playing. The issue is that Trent Grisham is playing. And I've been saying that Trent Grisham is doing enough offensively and with his glove where that combination is what's getting him out on the field. He's also hitting 250. He's also slugging, and he's playing really good defense. So if Jasson Dominguez is going to be on the field, and I was happy to see him today, I was, but he's going to have to justify playing. Again, the defense is going to be very bad. It's not good yet. Maybe it improves down the road. I would assume it's not going to get worse. He's highly athletic. You would assume adjustments coming. But Jake, if this player plays, he's got to, you said it was a 253 batting average. He's not necessarily slugging just yet and leaving the ballpark the way we had hoped. But if you're going to run the bases this way and play, yeah, you're putting a ton of pressure on a kid to hit. But again, if you're a one-dimensional player in terms of what you do on both sides of the ball, well, that just comes with the territory. So good to see a player who has to hit to stay in the lineup actually hit. Now it's, I guess, what's going to happen. You see John with the super said odds that Baboon benches Dominguez.
Very
I don't
high.
think today's performance, very high. I don't think today's performance has any, think about what happened today, Jake. I actually wanted to sort of move this to what we do with him, right? What it means. Jasson Dominguez was probably the best player on the field today. He had the most impact. I know he didn't leave the yard, and that's most fun to watch. But when you have 4 knocks and you're stealing 2 bases, right? And you look up and say, okay, that player, I would love to see him tomorrow. You have to ask yourself, well, who is he going to be in front of? And you'd say, well, Trent Grisham. He could just play him in front of him. Well, Trent Grisham had 4 knocks today. Cody Bellinger is our best defender in the outfield. He's also a great base runner. So the Yankees do have what you would call a surplus. And Michael K brings up that a good problem to have is still a problem. Jake, what do we do with this? Because if Jasson Dominguez plays tomorrow, what do you do with the others? I'm trying to find an answer here.
You know what's funny is we've been talking about like finding Ben Rice a position. I don't know why they didn't try Dominguez in the infield.
Do you think he possibly in the minor leagues? Because I don't want to make it seem like just bringing a guy who went through our system as a center fielder. He's obviously, he's not like he's 6'5". He's not.
Yeah.
He seems like he has the build to play infield, but just because a player is under 6 foot doesn't mean they just transfer into the infield, and you know this. But if there was a possibility for Jasson Dominguez to maybe just sort of hide at second base, that would have been really awesome for our roster. But right now, he's anchored in left field. He's not going anywhere. The Yankees aren't going to put him in center field, the type of defense that we're getting. It's already bad enough in left. And then he wasn't hitting but 250 before today. So it's just a difficult thing. And I think a lot of people in our chat's probably going to say he should just play over Trent Grisham. But then they're going to look up and say, where'd all the slugging go? Because Trent Grisham is slugging. I mean, we can't just put that away.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, I would rather have him play over Trent Grisham, but I'm not going to get on Trent Grisham the night he has 4 hits. I'm just not going to do that. It's really tough. I think really what it comes down to, and yeah, they do have an off day tomorrow. I saw that in the comment section.
Yeah,
so
we've announced
finally,
that about 40 times. So
they finally do. It took forever, 16 games as a matter of fact, but they finally do have an off day.
Right back to it.
Yeah, my thing is this. You know, when Grisham is going to have 4 hits in a game, I'm not throwing him under the bus. My issue is when you have like, you know, Dominguez, these are problems that could have been averted. Like, what I don't understand is we've watched Dominguez glove, and we know that he is below average. He's one of the worst fielders in the league. What were they watching in AAA and AA? There's no way he looked great in the minors. right?
You remember what they said before the postseason last year? We said, why doesn't Jasson Dominguez take these at-bats over Alex Verdugo? Do you remember what they said about his defense? They said, it's not the defense. We're not worried about that. That was a lie.
Yeah.
That was a lie. Of course you were worried about his defense wasn't good the following year. What do you mean you're not worried? Yeah, you are. He couldn't play defense in October of last year. He should be a better player today. He's an older player, right? He's now 22. So, yeah, I guess to your point, did they not know that this glove was an issue in the minor leagues? Were they not told by anybody? And then the inverse of that is we see George Lombard Jr., right? And everyone tells us, oh no, what you guys are seeing at Anthony Volpe with the arm, right, and the glove, maybe having issues, this kid's got it defensively. Wait till you see this kid and he's going to put it all together. Okay, well, if you guys can draw that conclusion, why couldn't you draw the conclusion that we maybe had an issue with the glove in the outfield? It's strange.
Yeah, and the worst thing, keep in mind, is that there's not really true data to quantify how good an outfielder is aside from the analytics we get from Savant, because errors you only get if you actually make contact with the ball. That's it.
Yeah.
Or it's a bad throwing error, like bad enough where you like it's hard to even get a throwing error from the outfield, but you can get one. Those are the only two ways. So yes, like if Juan Soto doesn't get close to a baseball and he just misplays it, and he did that all of last year, he's not getting error for that. So that's the thing, is that, you know, when you're in the minors and you don't have Savant, because there's no minor league Savant. I know there's that one page that has been trying to do it for minor leaguers.
It's eye test for sure. But I mean,
it's very eye
realistically,
test.
did you feel, because this is the question, when you watch Jasson Dominguez play defense, when you watch Juan Soto play defense, there are a few other players that, would you say you can detect that they're not necessarily a strong defender without looking at Baseball Savant?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess the question is, when you're saying, well, this guy's not very good at this one side of the ball, it's just defense, right? And defense in the outfield is not nearly as important, especially in the corner outfield, not nearly as important as the bat. It's just not. Jasson Dominguez is technically good at what we'd rather him be good at as our top prospect. So let's not get that twisted. It's not like he's a glove out there and he's hitting 210. That would be a bigger problem. But having said that, you look at this player and you think, well, the Yankees probably should have determined this is not good, and they just made the assumption that this is just going to get better. So the bat, as long as it's excellent, we couldn't give a poot. We do not care what he does with the glove. We don't. If he ends up hitting 280 this year, he starts to jump and elevate, the power starts to get there. Jake, you mentioned before we went live, he's now attempting to change games on the bases anytime he plays. He did that today. If he's going to be electric offensively, then I guess my question to you, who would you punt out of our lineup? Is it just Trent Grisham and we say be damned with his numbers so far? Because I would venture to say that's probably in the Yankees' best interest. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the best thing for the Yankees is Cody Bellinger starts every single day.
Absolutely.
You just accept the fact that Trent Grisham is a great option for you, but we've got to develop this kid. And if you don't develop him, or you don't have aspirations to develop him right now, then you might as well just get rid of him while the value's high. I'm telling you, he should just play every day. And if you figure out that he's not a good enough player to take on that, then he's not as good of a prospect as you thought he was, or you can't develop him. So I think Dominguez should just play every single day, hit in a certain spot in the lineup, and do not move him, and let him develop.
I got to be real with you. I think he's your leadoff hitter. He exhibits everything you look for. He works counts. He's fast as hell. He's an old school leadoff hitter. He gets on base, and now think about this for a sec. I got this guy who can steal second and third. It's already hard enough to pitch to Rice. It's already hard enough to pitch to Judge, Stanton, Bellinger. And now I got to worry about this guy running all over the place. And the way he gets really good jumps. It's not that he's just fast. Like he's just good at stealing bases. And I think what we saw today is going to be enough to really send a message to Aaron Boone and just the whole coaching staff and be like, we got to get this kid running on the base paths more. Like that's, and they probably already have, to be fair. To be fair, this is probably a reaction to previous games. But what I see is a guy who should be leading off. Gary, we would have absolutely killed for somebody to have, other than Aaron Judge last year, to have a 341 on base percentage at this point in the season. No one had that. That was the issue. That's why we wanted Jazz Chisholm. They're like, yeah, speed, guy that can hit in the 330 range for on base, and he's got some pop. And I said he got 30, I said he can hit 30 home runs in the Bronx.
He can't be a leadoff hitter, though, if you think about it. You're saying because of his talent, what he likes to present, I'm going to be a patient hitter. I'm not going to rush it up there. I'm not going to swing at the first pitch. You're going to see a lot of deep counts, 2-2, 3-2, right? I'm going to foul off a bunch of pitches. I may not be slugging, but I'm going to find my way to first base. That's what you're saying. And that can be incredibly valuable at the top of the lineup. But when you say that he can hit leadoff, and I track what you're saying. I don't disagree. But we can't give a guy a promotion anywhere in the lineup if we can't even guarantee that he's going to play any given day. That's actually what this super chat from Yuri is about. And that's the gist of it. Yuri, thank you for supporting this channel with the 10. Says Dominguez had a good 4-hit game. Only wish he would be consistent. He shows a lot of flashes and stealing bases. Boone playing musical chairs in the outfield. So, Yuri, let me say this one thing. Again, thank you.
Appreciate you, Yuri.
You cannot possibly ask a player to play consistent baseball if he doesn't play consistently. If his job...
I was going to say that,
if you want to sign a player and his job is... Maybe it's an Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. You sign him as a free agent. His job is to be a utility player. His literal job is to be ready no matter when you need him or where you need him. That's what a utility player is by definition. Jasson Dominguez wasn't developed to be a utility player or a guy who plays on Tuesday and then all of a sudden gets up on a Friday. That's not how he was developed. He was expecting to play every single day. So Jake, when you bring up that he could play leadoff, bat leadoff with his skill set, I don't see how it's even possible to even look that far ahead when they can't even guarantee us or even assure us what they're trying to do with these 4 guys that they're jumbling. So it's difficult. I feel like I can't even tell you guys. I don't know what they're going to do with Jasson Dominguez. Jasson Dominguez is going to find himself on the bench within the next 2 days. So I know they have tomorrow off. There's no guarantee that he plays Friday. There's none whatsoever. We probably see him, but over the weekend, we know he'll sit. He'll sit one of those 2 days. And that's just enough for us to not be able to ask a player for consistency. I don't think it should exist.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say Dominguez has to be this, and this, when to your point, he is a part-time player. That wasn't the deal, okay? None of us were told before the season that Trent Grisham was going to hit like this and he was even going to put any sort of pressure. The deal was that Dominguez was going to play every day, and there'd be some days where they get Grisham in there just to say that they played him. But Grisham, as far as I'm concerned, was supposed to play as much as Escara plays. And maybe even less than that. He wasn't supposed to play like as an actual starter. And you got to give him credit in that regard because he has played he's had a good season. But it's a what have you done for me lately type of league. And Grisham also today with the 4 hits and Dominguez with the 4 hits. These two are starting to feel the pressure, I think. They're really starting to kind of go at each other. And there's a little bit of a friendly competition, whether they recognize this or not. I don't think it is a coincidence that the 2 guys that are fighting for playing time both had great days today.
What do you do if they both hit? That's the question. Because if the Yankees right now, they call it a good problem to have. What happens if you have 4 outfielders that are all deserving to play? Do you just play all 4 of them? Or do you find your best 3 and just admit, I've got a guy who's good enough to play on the bench? You just call it a really good bench player. That's what the Yankees aren't willing to do. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
The Yankees want to believe it's a good thing to have 4 players in when there's 3 spots, and we're just going to rotate them around, right? Former players are telling you they don't believe in hot players. They clearly don't, because you'd like to imagine if we've got 4 guys, 3 spots, that the top 3 in terms of performance will play all the time. And then when one guy falls off, the next guy steps in. That's not how we do our business. It's not. We have a guy have 3 hits. We take a day off on Thursday. We show up Friday. Jasson Dominguez may sit. It may be because we're facing a lefty. It could just be because they want to get Giancarlo in there, Grisham, Bellinger, who just sat, right? So I feel bad. I do. I feel bad for still a young person, a 22-year-old player. Obviously, he's playing professional baseball, so I can't feel that bad for him. But he had dreams of playing right center field or outfield for the New York Yankees and earning his spot. And not becoming a hero, but becoming a key cog in what we do. And it just doesn't seem like the Yankees are giving him that leash to do it. It just seems like they're sort of letting him put his hand on the wheel, and then they hop him out the seat. It's strange.
It is strange because on one hand, Jasson Dominguez is splitting time with Trent Grisham, and on the other team is literally starting a guy making his debut that they drafted last year when we were talking about the draft. Think about that. That's the difference. That's why Elly De La Cruz would probably still be in the minors if he was on the Yankees. Truthfully. Like, there are other teams that are willing to call these guys up and give them full run. They've only really done this once with Volpe. Because Aaron Judge wasn't a starter right away. He started games his first year, like when he wasn't like great. He started games. Tyler Austin started games. But did they ever go all in on Aaron Judge and Tyler Austin that rookie year? No. The true rookie, like, not the true rookie year, but like his, his first
once it was
year
so
actually,
egregious that like, oh, we have to play this guy. And now he played. Okay.
So the only player has been Volpe, Gary. That's the only player they've done that with. And that's the thing that's really frustrating about Anthony Volpe is that they're probably, although they think he's doing well, so maybe not. But think about this. If they're looking at this like, wow, this is unsatisfactory, what does that mean for the future? Oh, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should do what because we eased into it with Judge. We didn't rush Judge, and look at what he ended up being. Like, that is
almost
a
makes it
concern of
seem
mine.
like everyone has to start off with a small bite. Hey, chew your food. We're not going to give you a full plate. Just relax. You're still young. You're not ready to do what these veterans do. We're paying them a lot of money to do this job.
Yeah.
You, the young kid, right? The George Lombard Jr., you can't handle a starting position with the Yankees. No.
That said,
we're going to go sign a utility player, and then you're going to work your way onto the field. I don't love it.
Dominguez is 22, though. And this is actually how I look at it. Dominguez is 22. Grisham's going to be 29, and he's going to be off your team. Right? He's going to go get a deal somewhere else. Is it really beneficial to be giving him like these reps over Dominguez and take Dominguez out of his rhythm when he finds it? Is it really beneficial to rely on the 28-year-old? We could talk about that in the postseason if you want to lean on them. Okay. They did it last year with Verdugo. It didn't exactly work, but you could see the defense definitely makes more sense in the postseason. I get that. But right now, in June, I find it really hard to not give Jasson Dominguez a run here. Give him a real chance to start ascending. Because the thing is, if Elly De La Cruz wasn't playing every day, he wouldn't be what he is today. Okay? If they said, Paul Skeens, you're going to be a spot starter. You're not even in our rotation. He'd shove his first start. He'd get cold waiting, would probably get shelled in one of the, starts that he had because he never knew when he was starting, and it would hold him back. That's what happens, and that can happen to anybody. And that's why I don't agree with this idea where, and you know me, I've really never agreed with it. I get the defense, I do, but I will trade in giving up a double that would be caught to keep Dominguez in there when I'm getting just about the same production as far as like a pure hitter standpoint. I might not be getting the power, but what I am getting is the speed on the base paths. Grisham's not a great base runner compared to Dominguez. I actually feel like the 22-year-old over the 28-year-old makes way too much sense. And for people that would say, and you're absolutely right by saying this, well, Jake, this is a World Series team. You would play the guy who's most likely to help you win. What if that guy is Jasson Dominguez and he's 22? That's my thing, is that you can fast track this kid's development right now, because I will actually give the Yankees credit. Dominguez is 22 right now. Judge 3 years later on his, time, 3 years later he gets called up. But think about the value you could get if you actually get Dominguez going at age 22.
Well, I think they
And
know that.
today-
They know the type of value they'd get. But
Today
if you
we
look
saw
at
a
Trent
glimpse
Grisham-
of that.
Yeah, that's the issue is that Trent Grisham. See, where I'll disagree is
Mm-hmm.
that Trent Grisham's playing better baseball. You can think that Trent Grisham's a worse baseball player than Jasson Dominguez. That's probably true. But as far as production goes, Trent Grisham's going to hit 25 plus home runs this year. He's going to play really good defense. He's also he's a guy that the Yankees trust to hit leadoff. Like he can get, there's a difference between getting 4 hits as the 6th hitter versus the leadoff hitter, right? So there's just a difference there. We saw that with Anthony Volpe when he was moving in terms of where he was in the lineup. So I agree with you 100%, is that the idea that you're going to develop a 22-year-old person and he's under roster control for 5 or 6 seasons, it's a long time. Arbitration is forever away for Jasson Dominguez. It just is.
Yeah.
If you develop him, it's the best case scenario for the Yankees. They know this. They want him to be fully developed because it's the cheapest way to go about their business. They want that. It's in their best interest. So having said that, Aaron Boone also has a choice. If I play Jasson Dominguez over Trent Grisham, the only reason you see Grisham out there every day is because they believe that Grisham is a better option right now at this very second. So I understand what you're saying. Him playing part-time doesn't prioritize development. It doesn't. But that's the tricky part of developing players on a contender. Much more difficult to do. When you're playing with the Pirates stink. They're horrible. Terrible organization. Nobody watches them. Nobody watch. You can go develop for some random team in the National League Central. Nobody's going to pay attention because you were out of the playoffs by 16 games. Do you know which team has the ability to throw a young kid out there when they're 15 games out? Those teams. Because there's no time. Time is it's not of the essence. For us, we have to win. If we go on a 4-game losing streak, it may be the difference between Tampa winning this division or us. So I get what you're saying. I want to develop this kid, but you have to ask the question, who is being left out? What's the decision you're making? Are you willing to take Trent Grisham and whatever his production is out of this lineup because he is producing? You can't look at a player who's going to finish the season, with mid-20s power, right? 25 homer power, drive in 90 to 100. And mind you, we're going to look up and say, oh, we should have played the kid. I hear what you're saying. I think it's a harder answer than what we're going to give it credit for, because the good news for us is that
definitely.
we get to sit here in hindsight. And if we go in October this year and Aaron Boone decides, I need Trent Grisham to take these at-bats, I trust him more, just like he did last year with Verdugo, and Trent Grisham goes out there and we lose in the championship series, and Dominguez is the odd man out, you see Cody Bellinger out there, Aaron Judge out there, and Stanton's taking DH at-bats, and Ben Rice is maybe catching or being at first base, people are going to look up and say, yeah, this would have worked out if Jasson Dominguez was developed, if you actually gave him the runway. So this is a very difficult spot. So I don't want to make it seem like it's an easy choice, because it's not.
Definitely not.
We're just in hindsight, and I rarely ever say this, but I don't even know if there is a wrong answer right now.
I'd go as far as to say that Jasson Dominguez is probably the team's long-term DH.
I would venture to say that. What if his power numbers don't increase? Do you think a DH would still make sense for a player who's?
I do.
Okay.
As long as you're still slugging and you're finding value on the base paths, I definitely think that's a DH worthy player. I mean, DH, you do normally associate home runs, you associate power, you associate pop, you associate driving in runs. So as long as he's slugging and he can steal bases, I do think he's got value. I also do have to say, I think he is going to start slugging big time. I think the biggest issue for him is that he's being told every night, hey, go out there, give it your all, but you're not playing the next day. And so I think that what that does to the psyche of a 22-year-old is now it's every play has to be a splash play.
Yeah,
and
to be fair, all the players are getting this exact same treatment. It's not anything personal. Cody Bellinger doesn't play every day.
No, of course.
Cody Bellinger's made almost $200 million in his career.
I know,
he's
it's
still
silly.
playing good baseball.
He should be a mainstay, though, because he's not he's not just one of the best hitters, not just one of the best players on the team.
Right.
He's one of the best defenders in the outfield in the league, like, period. So when you sit a guy like that, I think that's just dumb.
Let's get to poor James here. He's burnt onto the screen. James with a 5. Thank you for the super chat. Says, with Dominguez's speed and ability to draw 3-2 counts, I would use him at leadoff. There you go, Jake. Also, I would like JC getting more at bats over Wells. So,
well, I'm also in that corner as well.
Yeah, I think we can all agree, and I think JC, I think his wife went into labor today, actually.
Yeah, he was actually supposed to start today, which is what I was hoping for. And then that happened. But I agree with this. I will say this, though. Like, Ben Rice probably should be catching at this point. I understand the toll that takes on him. He won't have to do it next year. He'll be their first baseman next year, in all likelihood.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, you can just say, it's going to take the toll, but it probably only takes its toll after maybe 2 or 3 years.
That's
not half a season.
If I'm asking you, like, think about this. If Boone goes up to Ben Rice tomorrow and is like, hey, it's an off day. We're doing our game plan, everything. I got to be honest. We're going to have a hard time putting you in the lineup. You're not a better first baseman than Goldie. You're just not. But you're probably a better hitter right now than Goldie. We are going to prioritize the first base glove because we have some rotation going on in the infield. We need that scoop. We have to feel confident and comfortable. Today, nothing against Ben Rice. The throw was terrible by Jazz. That throw, Goldschmidt does not get by it. That is not a run. And so that's the difference. So if this was a close game, that could have been a backbreaker. But those are the things. So you have Stanton. We got to have him as DH. We got to get him as many at-bats as possible so he's ready come postseason. So if I'm thinking DH is filled, and I don't believe, because Boone doesn't believe Ben Rice can play in the infield, then the only other place is catcher, which he's already played. And so the thing for me is that I like Austin Wells, as I've said. You know, I've been high on him. But what I'm seeing from him is a guy that every single time he comes to the plate, he's trying to lift the ball. Every time. That is not a line drive hitter. He does not have the same approach. Left-handed bat, but he does not have the same approach as Ben Rice. I know when Ben Rice hits a home run, it looks like he uppercut. I'm telling you, he's got a level swing. He is just trying to snap the ball with his bat and put a drive into it. He's not trying to uppercut it into the next, into the third deck.
I feel like every single at bat I watch of Austin Wells, and mind you, when he makes contact, and it's
a thing of beauty when he makes contact.
Button. When you make contact, great. But I'll tell you what, every baseball player that plays, when they make perfect contact and it leaves the stadium, it looks really good. When DJ LeMahieu hits home runs, it looks great. Any player, literally anyone.
He's the one guy that it's weird. Maybe it's the batting stance, maybe it's the swing. It never looks as powerful as some of the other home runs.
Yeah, I mean, but if you watch Shaq shoot a free throw, he shot 50% for his career. When it goes in, it looks like he can make it all the time. That's the thing.
I agree with that. Yeah.
But when you watch them miss it, you're like, does he ever hit the rim ever? No, hardly. So that's the deal, is that you have to ask yourself, can Austin Wells, is he good enough to maybe play a little bit? Yeah. But you're also, if you're not going to get proactive and make the decision that Ben Rice is good enough to catch, well, you're making the active decision for him not to play. Is it worth it to have some of these catchers in the game over that player? I don't think so. I really don't.
I don't either. I really don't, because I think when you go into those, because Gary, it wasn't that long ago. There were 17 games above 500. Everyone was telling us that they were going to win by double digits. They were going to be the first team to clinch their division, right? And now they're sitting here 1.5, 2 games up on the Rays, and it's close. And you're losing games, okay? They just won today, but before this, they lost 9 of the last 12.
Yeah.
I don't care what was working before. Now, the margin for error is slimmer. Now, Volpe should not be a mainstay in the lineup. He's not a good fielder this year. He's just not.
And we all know he is. He's the He is as mainstay as any player other than Aaron Judge.
His bat has gotten bad. And by the way, this is why we didn't want him to sit. Any chance that he had of like riding that wave, and I'm not even saying, you mentioned
that was a ripple. That was it was literally a ripple in the water.
Yeah, exactly. It was ridiculous, but any chance he had, it's gone. Like he's back in this like he can't do anything type of phase. He's hitting 230, he has a 304 on base. I mean, it's not good, right? Austin Wells, by the way, dropped below 280 on base. Like, so we're talking about a guy. See, we're hard on Dominguez, although I don't think we're that hard on Dominguez. But in general, let's just say Yankee fans are hard on Dominguez. Seriously,
how are we hard on Dominguez though? Because I want to like decipher that. I don't think I'm hard on any player. I just read their stats, and like when I see a player hit 230, right, and then we would just say, well, he's not slugging. The Yes broadcast describes it as not slugging. Am I supposed to just want you on the field when you're not performing?
It wasn't necessarily like about that. My point being is that we criticized Dominguez, right? He has a 341 on base. Never at any point in his career has his on base dipped below 300. Volpe is going to do that in the next game.
What is Volpe's career on base percentage, if you don't mind?
Let me check. Austin Wells literally has 278 right now. So he's already dipped 22 points below.
I would venture to say Anthony Volpe, and I'm not looking, I promise you guys. I'd venture to say his career on base percentage is hovering at 300 or maybe even below that.
It's 292.
Thank you.
So my point being is that he's a mainstay, and we're told because he has the glove. But what happens when he doesn't have the glove? And now I have to sit here and insult everyone's intelligence by saying, well, Dominguez doesn't have the glove, but he's not playing because he doesn't have the glove. Well, why is Volpe playing? Because there's a very easy fix here. Catcher, Ben Rice. First base, Paul Goldschmidt. Second base. So what you could do is you could put LeMahieu there. You could put, actually, you could get really creative with this, right? Because you could, theoretically, you could put Ben Rice at third. But let's just say, I still stand by this. I think Jazz Chisholm should play short. I do.
Okay.
I think he's got the range. I think he's got the arm, the athleticism.
For sure, you're going to take a regression. It's not going to be as good as Volpe defensively. It's just not. It's a far more demanding position. It's not third base. It's just not. So, but even then, like if we knew Jazz was objectively going to be a worse defender than Anthony Volpe at short, would you guys choose to try it? I would.
That's kind of like Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, you're not getting exactly what Ellie does, but Jazz is giving you something to that effect. And the ceiling is enormous because Jazz is a natural shortstop. That is what he started out as.
I would be curious. I love this, Jake. I would be curious to know what our audience thinks about the idea of moving Jazz Chisholm to shortstop. And it doesn't have to be a full-time thing, just something the Yankees try for a couple days. They watch Jazz over there, and you guys can pretend maybe you didn't hear a lick we said, right?
Yeah.
But you put Jazz over there at shortstop. You put DJ at second base, obviously a little less mobile. You put him at second. He's hitting enough. He can play. You throw whoever else at third.
E6. Oh, my God.
Right.
That's brutal.
Is it worth attempting? Because when I look at a player, I have to ask, when I make a lineup and there's 9 players in it, there has to be something you're elite at, something, right? And we've talked all day long about the regression of Paul Goldschmidt. We've talked about it. We've covered it. And it's mainly against right-handed pitching. That's where he's been struggling. But there's still a reason for him to play every day. He can go for 5 with 3 punchies, but just yesterday he saved a run with his glove. That's value. There's still value there. The baseline of value is still high enough for him to justify playing. But Anthony Volpe, when he's not playing good defense, he is literally useless. He has no value whatsoever. So I know people take that as, oh, he hates this player. I don't hate any baseball player. I covered them. That's what we do for our job, Jake. So if you really want to be
struggling, I'd like nothing more than to say, you know what? The Yankees have a superstar in Anthony Volpe at shortstop. He is
this jersey. It's number 11, right?
Well, we know why.
My great uncle wore it for the Yankees. My dad wore it for the Yankees. And if it was Anthony Volpe and he was playing well, I could just wear it around Yankee Stadium and people can make the assumption it was his jersey, right?
Yeah.
I can't do that. Now it just has to be someone else's jersey. So I would have loved for this jersey to just be used in all types of ways, but it's not. I wanted Anthony Volpe to be much better than this. I don't want to have to cover him.
Everyone vote in the poll.
Come on. There's
It's
a poll.
winning right now. Yeah, yes is winning. It's it's
where
only
is
20 votes, but
Where is this damn poll?
you can only see it on YouTube. It's what I figured out.
I see.
Yeah, but you can go to the YouTube video and it is on there. But
I
the
want to
vote-
get to these 2 super chats, and then I want to get to a comment
Yeah.
made by Aaron Judge. I thought it was great. It was brought up on the broadcast. But Wildman Samurai, thank you for the 10. Says hot streaks go cold and cold streaks go hot. The Mets have lost 10 of the last 12 games and only 1 game behind the Phillies. Baseball is a long season. This is absolutely true. Anything can happen. Go Yankees. So again, Wildman, thank you for the super. Thank you for getting involved. And yeah, that is absolutely true. What's going to make a team a contender, and Jake, we've sort of talked about this, is can you stop a losing streak? And what's going to stop your losing streak is just having a higher baseline of expectations and situational hitting, execution. And that brings me actually to this comment from Aaron Judge. I was curious, Jake, what you thought about it. I didn't text you. I wanted to talk about it post-game. Now, Aaron Judge's comment, and he said after yesterday's loss, we treat every inning the same. Maybe we need to be a bit more situational. And this was from Randy Miller, who asked him this question. Obviously, he's joined our podcast before.
Yeah.
Now, when I actually read that, and I heard it the first time as well, I thought, well, maybe we need be a bit more situational. We shouldn't treat extra innings like it's the same as any other inning. Why would you ever have treated it the same?
Yeah, because people will look at this and they'll take it as like, wow, Judge is so passive and he's not a good leader. But it's almost like the whole idea like, oh, yeah, okay. So what you're saying is you don't appreciate me. Well, maybe I'll stop putting any effort in, right? He's kind of saying like the whole maybe part. He's saying that there's going to be action taken. That's how I'm taking that. Like,
I feel like he's saying everything here. He's literally telling you guys, we just treat it like it's one inning, and that's not the way to go about it. If you actually read between the lines, it's him telling you what we're doing is not working, and we're going to change that. Has to be changed.
Yeah, that's how I took it. I know some people will look at it as like this is passive, and because people do, and we've talked about this on this show, not you and I specifically, but there are people out there that have thrown Aaron Judge under the bus and said he's not a good leader. He's not a captain. He's a captain because that was in the whole negotiations for the contract, but he's not a true captain. And I understand the frustrations, but I also am one of those people that believe that we are not in the clubhouse. There is no way for me to know for sure what kind of captain is who. What we've seen is Giancarlo Stanton is probably the most like authoritative, I would say.
He's more vocal for sure.
And that's the thing, but we only see a little bit of the story. We're not seeing the day-to-day. We're not seeing the in-between-the-line stuff. So got to just take the player's word for it. And a lot of players say they love playing for Judge. And, I mean, you listen to the way these guys talk about Judge. I don't think I've ever seen that. I've seen it once. Well, twice. I've seen it with Tom Brady, and I've seen it with Aaron Donald. Everyone around him just calls him the GOAT. They even do the whole bowing down thing. That is a level of respect that you can't command if you're not a good leader. I'm sorry. Like you either lead by example or you're one of the rah leaders and it works, but you have to be one of the two. And Judge is probably not the guy that's loud. He doesn't show us that he is in the pressers. He doesn't show us he is on the field. But he's probably the guy that he leads by example and other people follow his lead. And it was said on the radio today, not that I'm listening, but it came up on social media. This one person, I forget who it was, said the Yankees follow Judge for the good and for the bad, essentially. So like when he's hitting, everyone's hitting. When he's not hitting, no one's hitting. And I thought that was really fair because it felt like we were talking about it when Judge goes down in the strikeout in the 9th inning yesterday. That felt like that was a huge missed opportunity. Like that could kill them.
Do you know what that means, by the way? Because I agreed with the assessment. Do you know what it actually means?
I mean, I think to a degree, like it means, they're willing to go down with the ship, but I also think it's also people fail to understand how mental and emotional these sports are. And you go to war with these guys on a day-to-day basis, and you're going on planes and you're going on these long road trips and you're coming back home. And I mean, I just think it's a little bit of everything. Truthfully, I think, sometimes guys step up. I think sometimes guys they get overzealous. I think back to the whole point that Judge was trying to make, how they try to keep everything the same, or they look at everything the same. I understand that, Gary. I do, because you don't want to over pursue. What I don't understand is late in games, though, like when we're talking about crunch time, staying in that same mindset, because there's no over pursuing in that sense. You need to come through. It's that simple.
Yeah, he did have to come through. But this is my takeaway. If somebody says, if this player doesn't play well, they don't go. But when he does play well, they go. It's basically them telling you your team's not that good. He is. So
that's fair.
I'm going to tell you guys this. The Yankees aren't a great team until you can no longer say that. We looked at the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are the class of baseball. They can lose games for a stretch, certainly. They can get unhealthy for a stretch, certainly. But when we went into the World Series with this team, Shohei Ohtani didn't do lick. Didn't do anything. No one ever says, oh, well, when Shohei goes, they go. No, Hernandez goes. Freeman goes, right? Betts goes. And like Tommy Edman goes. They have just plenty of talent to accommodate for any one player not pulling the rope. That's what a team's for. All-time great teams. That's what that's for. You look at the 98 Yankees, right? And you say, okay, well, you got Jeter here, right? You can list off the names and say, well, if he's not performing, and I think even a better situation is you look at our 09 team that won the World Series. You'd say, well, A-Rod stepped up in a way that you could never imagine, right? We never thought he was going to get to that level, and he reached that. Then all of a sudden you say, well, who all of a sudden pulled the rope the hardest? Hideki Matsui. That was actually the story. That was the storyline. So you need to be real about what the Yankees are. And as of now, we've actually got a lot of young players that are starting to break through, like maybe a Jasson Dominguez, maybe a Ben Rice, where 2 to 3 years from now, we might be looking at two totally different versions of players. That's just electric. But as of now, the Yankees have a lot of some good players sprinkled around the field. I think more good than last year's team. We had 2 great and a lot of dookie. This year, it's more good. And then Aaron Judge has reached a level we never thought he can go to. He's been unbelievable, and he's starting to slow down right now. And then people are describing it as if he doesn't go, we don't go. Well, yeah, a bunch of good players, and then their best player playing really bad for a couple of weeks, they're going to lose a lot of games. That's just what happens. So, yeah, when I look at this, I just sort of look at it and say, well, the Yankees, they have to find a way to have enough around this player where he can have these type of lulls and it doesn't matter. That's what a great team does. They pick up their teammates, and I think it will happen. It's just a matter of how long we're going to wait. And Rocky Sullivan with the 10, Rocky, thank you for that, says, since his return from injury, I'm glad we're getting to Jazz Chisholm because I did want to talk about him today. We're not going to go for 3 hours, but point is, Jazz is a poor man's Ricky Henderson. Yeah, he's a homeless man's Ricky Henderson, but still a good player. Which makes him the ideal leadoff hitter. Jake, I know for a fact, you've talked about the idea of Jazz leading off, right? I didn't love it just from the simple standpoint of that I like the idea that he can't be game planned for where he's currently at in the lineup. He's just sort of hidden. He comes up in random spots, and I like that. I like that about the dynamic that I see. Whereas your point about Jasson Dominguez, I feel like he's a little bit more intentional about exactly what he wants to do. He's going to work counts. He's not really trying to slug as like a priority. I think Dominguez's build makes a lot more sense. He's more aggressive on the bases.
Definitely.
But what do you think about Jazz certainly has the performance the last 2 or 3 weeks where you'd say he easily could be promoted to the top 3 of this lineup. What do you think the Yankees will do, or what do you think they should do?
So I think, right now, if I was in control, Jazz is playing shortstop. I'm doing it. I'm acquiring IKF. I'm playing him at third. And I'm playing DJ LeMahieu at second. And Volpe, look, people can say that I'm hating on him or I'm giving up on him. Bellinger's not playing every day. Like, if Bellinger isn't playing every day and he's one of the best defensive players in baseball, why is Volpe? Volpe's playing every day because there's simply no other option. Well, I'm going to go out and get a better option. I'm going to move IKF to third, where he won a Gold Glove, where he should have played all along. And I'm going to have Jazz Chisholm at shortstop, where I can fully maximize his athleticism, his arm strength, his range. And that was where he came up in the system with the Diamondbacks. He was a shortstop. So that's what I would do. And then on top of that, with the lineup, I'd have Jasson Dominguez lead off. Yes, I would have Jasson Dominguez play over Trent Grisham. I'd have Grisham rotate in and out like Volpe. But I'd have Jasson Dominguez lead off. I'd have Ben Rice bat second. I like Rice second. Judge third. Bellinger fourth. And then I don't care what you do when it comes down to Jazz or, Goldschmidt, whatever you want to do there. But that's how I would have that. And then, of course, you have Stanton. So you can kind of just mix and match. But I think the point being is the first 3 should be the same way every game. That is the most important spot. Honestly, the first 4. Because as much as I like Stanton is going to give you that high variance. But Stanton also is very, he's what I would call a very erratic player, right? You're not basically the scale. It's just going to be like a roller coaster because he'll strike out 3 times in a night and look horrendous. Like you've said, he'll look like he's swinging an axe at a tree, right? But at the same time, he'll be huge. He'll come up with huge hits. He's going to be dangerous no matter where I put him in the lineup. Because the bottom line is,
because of that,
the Yankees have a good lineup when you think about it. The issue is their best 9 hitters can't all get in the lineup at once. That's the issue. And a big reason for that is because Volpe is manning shortstop. A big reason for that is because Trent Grisham is having, good problem to have, a good season. That's why now all of a sudden you're putting all this pressure on these guys to try and make this work. Goldschmidt should play when Ben Rice plays and Stanton. When that happens, simple. Rice is your catcher. Jasson Dominguez, like I said, I can live with a ball or 2 that gets past an outfielder. I can. I'd give up that sacrifice.
As long as you're hitting. Yeah.
As long as he's hitting, he continues to do what he's doing, and I feel like I'm building towards something bigger. Who's going to be on the roster next year, Gary? Who's more likely to be on the roster, Jasson Dominguez or Trent Grisham?
No, I think they know that as well, but they're also probably looking at it like, I don't think our priority is development.
But that said, is their priority even a World Series? Because they tell us it's a crapshoot in the playoffs.
Yeah, they do tell us it's a crapshoot. They
then
kind of
service
they kind
time.
of forget what they
so
told
they hold
us.
back these guys that can clearly help out a team. And then they tell us, well, service time, manipulation, we're not going to bring them up, that whole thing. And it's like they give us mixed signals all the time. Because on one hand, they're like, yeah, we want Alex Verdugo to play because he gives us the best chance to win, and we're trying to win a World Series, which is funny. Alex Verdugo doesn't give you the best chance to win a World Series, but I digress. And on the other hand, they'll be like, yeah, this player, we feel like he could help us out, but service time. See, that's my thing, is that there's always mixed signals.
Well, I don't think Dominguez doesn't play because of service. I mean, it's like not anything service time related.
But that's why other guys haven't been called up. That's why Everson Pereira, you haven't seen him. That's why a lot of these guys haven't been called up. And
I mean, maybe. I mean, that certainly could have a role, but the Yankees don't develop the way that other teams have the opportunity to develop. And I actually say opportunity because it's like in a way fair and in a way not. Again, if you're a team that's 10 games out, it's really easy for you to be like, we prioritize development and we're going to call this player up. Like, for example, the Kansas City Royals, right? They're under 500. They're not playing good baseball at all. And they're like, well, Jack Caglione is probably the second or third best player in our whole organization. We want to call him up and prioritize his development. That makes a lot of sense. But what happens if all of a sudden Kansas City was, I don't know, a certain amount of games out and they genuinely thought they have a veteran who right now can help them more than he could? Now it's a harder decision. Is it the right decision to call up the prospect who can help you? Maybe. But the Yankees have a harder conversation because Jasson Dominguez technically is not playing top 3 baseball in our outfield. Trent Grisham's playing better than him. Overall. We're just talking about overall. Defense, slugging, hitting for average, right? Trent Grisham's played better baseball than Jasson Dominguez. Trent Grisham, right, has played, I would say Cody Bellinger has played better baseball than Jasson Dominguez. Jasson Dominguez was awesome today. But the Yankees have to make a choice. Do we play this kid, prioritize development? When we haven't won a World Series in 16 years, it's a harder choice. It's difficult. So I agree with you. I think that the correct choice is probably to play him because if Jasson Dominguez isn't going to play, he's going to have a 4-for-5 day today. We saw Cody Bellinger have a 3-hit day 2 days ago, and then he showed up and was benched, right? So maybe this 4-hit day won't matter Friday.
It won't matter.
But maybe it will.
I'm here to tell you it will not matter.
Every other team in baseball, if they watched a 22-year-old, I'll tell you right now, if Roman Anthony had a 5-hit day this evening, you guys think there's any opportunity that Roman Anthony's not playing, right? The following day? Of course he's playing. They're just going to be like, we're just going to ride the momentum. They're freaking out. It's probably the most important thing to them at the moment. But it's not the way we do it.
It's so true, though. And I think that's, I don't know, that kind of coincides with what Judge was saying, no? If you treat everything, and I understand he was talking about the players, but maybe that's just the culture. You treat everything like it's just a game, right? You treat everything the same, then that means you're not putting, could I not make that argument, Gary? You're not putting stock into what they did yesterday. You're not putting stock into...
Yeah, it's not really a process. Like, there's not a reason why we're doing something. It's just that this is a timeshare. So just consider the timeshare. This is the plan.
I also like this.
Good for you. You play really well. You played really bad. Well, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. We plan to play you tomorrow anyways, so we'll see you tomorrow. That's just...
Yeah, Volpe is doing you no favors if you are hitting, if he's hitting in front of you.
Oh, I'd argue it's a lot harder when Volpe's in front of you making the last out in 2 to 3 innings a game. Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine that Volpe's an auto out right now. I was actually just telling Jake before we went live how difficult it seems to hit under 230. I remember back in the day, depending on how old you are, you would have heard the line, the Mendoza line. Like, that was a common phrase when I was growing up in baseball. The Mendoza line, for those of you who don't know, is 220. Okay? If you pay attention, Anthony Volpe's hitting 230 right now. It seems incredibly difficult to hit anything below 230. It does. Now, mind you, I'm not saying it's easy to hit over 230 in Major League Baseball. The point is Anthony Volpe doesn't get hits very often. He just doesn't. So it just feels like he can go 0 for 3 and his batting average hardly moves. Then all of a sudden he has 2 knocks. Just the other day he had 2 bleeder singles. He had a homer. 3 for 4 a day. Everyone's like, is he going to play the next day? His batting average shot up to like 239. Crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. This
even the picture they use of him, he just looks it's just not good.
I think he struck out on that.
I'm guessing he probably flew out to right field on that swing.
Maybe.
That's probably what happened.
Yeah, I think and he's 24, right? But I just feel like if we're going to sit here and not that we are, but if we're going to, anybody, if you're going to sit there and say Dominguez needs to be traded and all of this, I mean, how do you feel about Volpe right now?
Well, there are a lot of people, though, and I want to say this in the defense, okay, of Anthony Volpe.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, well, the Yankees should just trade this player. And you have to remember, if you're willing to trade a player, you need to have a replacement in order. You need to have a direction that you're willing to go. Because don't just tell me, ship Anthony Volpe to the Sun, right, and try to be like one of those barstool buffoons and be funny. But the point is when you say ship this player to the Sun, there must be a player that you have in mind that you genuinely believe will give you better production than what you're getting out of this player. Is this production excellent? Absolutely not. No stretch of your imagination. But is it perhaps better than what the Yankees have prepared for from anyone behind them potentially? Maybe. So the Yankees do have to hold on to this player until we can locate a shortstop that can stay here and be the shortstop of the future. So that's another part of this.
It's such a shame that Peraza just doesn't have it with the bat, because he'd be the perfect replacement right now. He'd be perfect.
Yeah,
he is.
He made really good
glove.
contact the other day, and even the broadcast. And when the Yes broadcast mentions you just haven't hit since being here, they don't say it until it's just apparent.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Kay gives him all the props in the world for his defense.
He does.
I was definitely on his defense. I kept saying, I'm like, this guy, he plays. I said earlier in the year, I thought he should be the starting shortstop over Volpe. But he's not hitting. So, I mean, the reality is, if he's not going to hit, dude. No, I mean, I'm not going to talk out of both sides of my mouth.
My mom says nobody is taking Volpe for $27 million. The good news here, Mom, is that Anthony Volpe makes about, I'm pretty sure the league minimum. What's the league minimum now? Is it $700K?
Something like that.
Then after New York taxes get to you, you make like what, minimum wage?
Good Lord. Yeah, that's what
he's
I'm
cheap. It's not about the contract. It's about the value. And if the Yankees did get off of Anthony Volpe, that's you punting on everything you thought about would be possible. Like the whole dream, it would be dead. What?
I don't remember that at all. I thought he was.
I don't recall that.
Shortstop.
I'm not going to call you wrong. Perhaps he was. I didn't see that. I want to throw this super chat though up on the screen. Because I actually don't think it's true, and I'll tell you guys why. So my milkshakes, love the name. Thank you for the 10 supporting the channel. Says Boone's reliance on analytics is costing the Yankees wins. Finding some random stat to keep a player on or off the field is a problem. Imagine sitting A-Rod because some random stat was found. Yeah, I don't think Aaron Boone relies on analytics at all. I genuinely think he's making these lineups, and I'll tell you why. Analytics would, some of these obvious solutions.
Analytics wouldn't have Volpe in a lineup.
What analytic would possibly tell you that a player analytically who's a below average defensive shortstop, throwing and the glove, so I'll call you my milkshake.
Whatever software is telling you to put this guy in your lineup, I'm telling you, is giving you bad information.
Baseball Savant tells us that he is a league average or slightly below glove. Okay, just glove work, not the arm, right? Just put it behind his back, just the glove. Below or league average, okay? So the mediocre, middle ground. Then from there, his arm strength is below average. This is objectively true. It's actually better now than it was even earlier, okay? So having said this, you'd say, well, if that's true, how is a player analytically driven out onto the baseball field? He isn't. He's out there because Aaron Boone is making the decision that he really wants him to play. This is his decision. So I don't think analytics is creating this problem. I think Aaron Boone's creating this problem. And I think just as he's making the problem, he can cause the solution. Go out there and make the brave choice to play your best choices. Play the best players. Anthony Volpe is not one of our top 9 players. He's not. So people can say what they want about that he's 24, he's still young. 24, you should be a really good player. At that age, as long as he's been here, he's not new blood to me. Like this, he's now been around. He's at over 1,500 at bats. He should be ready.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying the other day, his hitting numbers are worse than Clint Frazier, who everybody was pushing out of town. And he was a top prospect, by the way.
Boonalytics.
Boone. So
They should be called bootylytics. That's what we use.
So we'll wrap it up with this, Gary, because we'll create our own Profit X stuff. They're not going to have it there because obviously they have an off day. That'd be cool though. So Yankees, A's, whatever you want to call them, I don't care. They're not in Oakland anymore. You can call them the Punjabi A's. I don't care. I don't. That's what happens when you don't have a location. People can they can say the Abu Dhabi A's. There we go.
Hey, they broke ground in Vegas. I don't know if you saw that.
Did they really?
They did. They broke ground. Yeah.
So I'm calling them the Vegas A's then.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Las Vegas A's, the Las Vegas Athletics, excuse me, will be taking on the New York Yankees in the Bronx, New York, at Yankee Stadium. Mitch Spence, who I've never heard of before. He's not having a bad season.
His name is Mitch Spence.
Yeah, I've never heard of him before.
Wait, what's that character in All American? Is it Spencer James? It sounds like one of those names, like just one of those auto-generated Netflix created names.
MLB 2K5 generated.
Yeah.
And versus Will Warren. To be fair, Will Warren's pretty auto-generated too.
It is, yeah.
So W2 taking on Mitch Spence. Spence has a 3.84 ERA with a 1.30 WHIP. In 52 and 2/3, he's given up 59 hits. He has 50 strikeouts, 17 walks, and 6 home runs. I like Will Warren in this one. I think he's back to where he was. He had a rough outing in LA, but they're not going West Coast again. So I feel good about Will Warren pretty much for the rest of the year as long as he stays healthy. I will probably say with the righty, Ben Rice is going to play for sure. I'll say Ben Rice. I'm just going to keep doing it because I think the value is too good. Total bases, 1.5. I'm taking the over on that. And I'm probably going to go with Will Warren strikeouts, and I'm going to guess it's probably 5.5. So I'll take the over on 5.5. And I'll say the Yankees run line. I say they win by at least 2 runs.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking our probably Jazz Chisholm. He's probably been the most deadly offensive weapon we've got. Sometimes he kills you with his legs. You saw today. He can hit a ball, I think it was like 440, 430 out to right field. It was a bomb. So he can change the game. He can. I think he's starting to get acclimated at what he's trying to do. I've got the power game, but I don't need to rely on it. I need to rely on contact, right? Putting the ball in play, creating action. And if I leave the ballpark, then great. And then, I really hesitate to say that Ben Rice will play because there's no one knows if they will play other than Aaron Judge. So if Ben Rice plays...
Ben Rice is catching on Friday. You heard it here first.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. So I guess the question is, well, this dude's a right-hander, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You can maybe justify that Ben Rice will be at first base. Maybe Paul Goldschmidt sits down again. You never know.
That's true.
Oh, and last thing I'll say, we need to win this series. We actually need to.
Oh,
because I believe we play the New York Mets after that. I'm here to tell you right now, we cannot afford. The Mets have no momentum. They're going backwards, right? They have no momentum whatsoever. That series between the Yankees and Mets is really going to determine our temperaments heading into the deadline. I promise you guys. It's going to be a rain cloud over whoever. If the Mets show up, and we're going to Citi Field, and we go get swept, or we lose 2 of 3, I promise you, the sky will be falling. I'm not saying the season will be over. That's not what I said. But as far as temperament goes, people are going to be freaking out.
Oh,
so
yeah.
take care of business against Sacramento.
Good for our channel.
Yeah, yeah. But they need to take care of business right now in this series. Let's not look ahead. But if you don't, just know it's going to be a storm ahead. It's not good. If you're just expecting to turn it on when you play the Mets, but you couldn't take care of business in this series, I've got news for you. So let's go win this series. I think you said Will Warren is on the mound.
Yep, it's
then
A's.
Clark.
Then they go to Toronto 4 games in a row. Then they go to Citi Field for 3.
Oh, Toronto's in between that. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes. Then they have Seattle 3 times at the stadium. And then they end the first half of the season, go into the All-Star break against Chicago in a 3-game set. Another team that's kind of going through a similar thing is the Yankees right now. So those aren't the teams that you want to play because the Mets are due to turn it around. You need to make sure that you're not the team that they use to turn it around because they do have an axe to grind against you winning 2 of 3.
To be fair, 8 of their wins are against the Rockies. So.
That's hilarious. So, all right, for comment, give me when you think Spencer Jones will be called up to AAA.
I'm going to probably guess. I'm going to guess literally right at the deadline. As soon as we're done with the deadline, there are going to be names traded. I think the Yankees are going to get busy at the trade deadline. Not telling you guys when it's not synonymous. Busy is not synonymous with you guys being happy with the names that come through that door. But I think there are going to be a lot of movement, right? Getting some guys out the way, maybe clear the path for some prospects the Yankees genuinely think are going to break into the big leagues. I think they need to do a better job of doing this. Get guys out the way. I know, Jake, you've talked about it. There's some dudes at AAA. You're like, why is this guy on the roster if you're not going to call him up when you've got your big dog sitting below and he can't go to AAA? So I think Boone does that. And yeah, within a day or two of the deadline. So that would be my answer.
And real quick, we actually have some news that I don't think we ever talked about. Jonathan Loaizaga never went to the IL. He was actually just like feeling sick.
Yeah.
So that's a huge, obviously I hope he gets better. I'm not like, whoa, yeah, he's sick. He's somewhere like right now, probably like not even able to breathe. But no, it could have been really bad. He just came off of season-ending injury and all that. So yeah, that's actually good news. It will not require an IL stint, and we'll see what ends up happening. But that was looking pretty bad, you know. So wanted to say that. But yeah, drop in the comments section when, not the chat, but at the end of this, because it boosts the algorithm, and Lord knows we need that. Although, yeah, thank you for the 7K. Did we announce, by the way?
Yeah, I literally was just gonna say, we didn't even make an announcement. We have hit 7,000 subscribers, so thank you guys a ton. It's actually insane because I still have screenshots of when we eclipsed 2,000 and 3,000, and I just remember freaking out about it. And then now it's like, I don't know. It's like you're looking at it and you're like, oh, 7,000 doesn't feel like a whole lot. And then you really think about it. You put 7,000 people in a room and it's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. So we really do appreciate you guys are always here. You guys are always consistent. We always have a show. We always have viewers. So we do really appreciate that, win or lose. Mainly when they lose, we get the most viewers, I will say. But
yeah,
it's
negativity definitely. There's a reason everyone's the way they are on Twitter. It's easy to be negative on Twitter. Everybody's negative. But you can win this Yankees jersey with a question mark on it. If you win this giveaway, we'll throw this. Yeah. And who's the guy? I actually forgot his name.
Wally Pipp.
Wally Pipp. If I win this, could you imagine if someone did a giveaway and the host won it?
Oh, you've never seen that before? That's like half of the Twitch streamers.
Well, yeah. Most giveaways, nobody gives up anything. Like all those like Twitter giveaways are like, you could win this, you can win that. Just retweet. They don't send a damn thing. Nothing.
I know. I once won. What was it? I won an Xbox, and I was like, "Oh, hey, when am I getting the Xbox?" He's like, "Never, LOL."
Why would he even tell you that?
I was just like, I have no idea, but I didn't really care because you know, whatever. It was something that I did for a friend. That was the irony. Hey, can you
so don't believe us, guys. Don't just believe what we tell you. When we announce the winner, and we'll do that on our podcast, obviously it has to be a subscriber, so be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, you're notified. But we want the person who receives our jersey to also jump in the chat that's been around, right? That you recognize. And I hope the person who wins it is one of the names that we see in the frequently in the comment section. So people are like, oh yeah, I can put a face to it.
Yeah. And we'll have to have them reach out to one of our socials when that happens.
Right. Like Rocky Sullivan. If Rocky Sullivan wins it, you know, he's a member of ours. They know Rocky Sullivan's not me. And if it is, then I've been doing crazy work.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I've been really busy.
Anyway, drop in the comments section after the video ends when you think Spencer Jones will get called up to AAA. I see a lot of people throughout the show like, when is he going to leave AA? Gary and I both believe it's the deadline. I've maintained that. There's going to be some bodies that are shipped out, and that's just the way it is. But if you guys enjoyed this, please be sure to show us by hitting the like button, and be sure to hit subscribe as well if you haven't already. 75 likes, over 200 people in here. If every single one of you hit the like button, YouTube would actually think that people like this video and push it. That's going to do it for us. We appreciate you. Thanks again for 7,000. And here's to many more. See you guys soon.
Like this video.